The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hey, Pat.
Hello there.
And joining us for the first time is Andrew Hermiz. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Dom.
So, folks, if you've listened to other StarQuest Network shows like Secrets of Star Wars or Secrets of Movies and TV shows, you've undoubtedly heard Andrew on some of those. But Andrew is joining us on this show as a panelist. And Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your tech background? Just a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So I've been in film and video production my whole career. Currently, I'm the executive director of Corbata Media. It's a newer Catholic media company. Check us out. Quick plug there.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. Yeah, we got a few podcasts out. But, you know, being in that industry, obviously, tech is a huge part of it. So keeping up with camera technology, you know, obviously the latest video editing apps, and you know, I've mainly been a Mac user, so you know, usually you choose one path, right? Yeah. Dom throwing his hands up. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm always constantly having, you know, as a hobby, of course, I love, you know, to keep up with the latest and greatest in tech. I'm not a huge gamer, but I do like to play video games when I have whatever free time I could latch onto. I like to make charging readily available when on the go and traveling. Mm-hmm. So I'm into the everyday carry stuff. So yeah, I'm really into that world, and constantly it's always constantly on my mind.
All right. Excellent. And don't worry, folks, Father Andrew Kinstetter will be back. He just had to take some time off. I think he's going on retreat or vacation or something along those lines. So, and he deserves it. He's worked hard. So Andrew has hopefully offered to step in while he's out. So that's great.
Well, it's nice you kept the same name.
Yeah, it makes it easier for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no confusion there.
No confusion. So it would be worse if you and Father Andrew were on the same one. That would be more confusing.
Oh yeah, but that's happened many times.
Yes. And I, you know, whether you were a father or not.
I am a dad to 2 kids. Yeah,
right,
a different kind of father. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do want to make a programming note. So, folks, we will have an episode next week it'll come out on the I gotta look at my calendar, the 12th of June, but there will not be an episode on June 19th. We will not be recording that week. And then in July, there will be 2 weeks without an episode, July 17th and July 24th. That is when the Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World pilgrimage to Italy will be happening, and I will be there. And I will not be recording an episode of Secrets of Technology while I'm there. Although it would be kind of fun to kind of do it some. Maybe I'm not making any promises. No, I'm not going to do that. But it would be fun to record some stuff. But we will be talking between now and then about tech for travel. You know, because I'm getting ready to go and I'm going to have all this tech gear. So I want to do an episode on tech for travel. So that'll be coming up between now and then. So just something to look forward to. All right, enough of the preliminaries. Let's talk about today's main topic. And the main topic is desktops. And what do we mean by desktop? So whether you're on Windows or Mac or even a Linux with a graphic interface, you have a screen. You have, you know, when you turn on your computer, the screen comes up and you have a desktop. And on the desktop, maybe some disk drive icons and the taskbar or the dock. And, you know, you open up Windows and all that sort of stuff. That's what we mean by, you know, it has icons and folders and background apps and widgets and that sort of things. And why are we talking about desktop? Because it's the first place you go for your productivity. When you're going to use your computer, it's where you go. It's not like a single use device where you turn it on like your TV, you turn it on and you're switching channels. Although these days most people go to a streaming box, so I guess that those have a sort of semi-desktop interface. but in any case, it's where you start when you're going to be using your device. And so it can become cluttered. It can become difficult to use if you don't use it right, but it could also be a really good place to get started and to remain productive and organized for what you're doing. So that's what I wanted to talk about, the desktops this week. I make it a point of pride that my desktop is clear. I have some disk icons. At the moment, I have one file sitting on it, and it's a web link. I must have dragged it off. I was looking for a hat to wear when I go to Rome. I need a nice cool hat, summer hat, and I got a link to a shopping site for that. But other than that, it is clear of everything except widgets. So that's the only other thing, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But how about you guys? What is your philosophy of your desktop? Are you one of those people? And Andrew, I'll go with you first. Are you one of those people who when you look at your desktop, it's covered in icons and you can't see what's underneath, or you keep it clear?
I tend to keep it clear. I'm very much similar to you. I like to keep, because I don't change my background that much, but I do like to, show it off. And I'm a minimalist when it comes to that stuff. Like I like to be, I like it to be clean and decluttered. I'm more into like folder management, so I try to keep my folders managed in a way to where I know where everything is and they're easy to find. I, rely heavily on Spotlight, on Mac and all that stuff and Finder. But when it comes to my desktop, I like to keep it clean. Now, that doesn't mean it's always clean. Like, depending on whatever project I'm working on, I could, just out of like brainless ease of use, a bunch of files will just end up on the desktop that I use quickly that I know I'm just going to end up deleting later, not needing, or I can stash somewhere else.
It's a staging area or kind of a temporary space. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So, but my philosophy is to keep it clean. Like, just have maybe the Macintosh HD icon to quickly, get to my folders or to Finder. But other than that, it's clear.
Excellent. Pat, what about you? Yeah.
Well, I'm coming from being both in the Mac world and in the PC world, and I would say Mac users typically keep them clean. PC users have lots of icons that are put on there by the apps when they get installed. And then there's a lot of icons that we could certainly remove, but they tend to be functional. In other words, somebody may not remember where in all the list of programs that they need. They've got a set of programs they use for graphics, so they may put them in an area on the desktop, and that's their graphics area. They might put them in a folder, but most of the time they just group them. Like, they might have 3 icons to get to different mail servers or to mail systems. They may have security. They might have a malware checker or their VPN or that type of thing. They're kind of grouped together. Myself, I have a lot of programs. I do a lot of work. I don't keep documents on my desktop. It's functional folders of how to get to the tools I need quickly. Because trying to remember sometimes, I can remember what the name of a program is, but for my clients, if I help them with grouping things by a functional method, they may not remember that Carbonite is their backup, but if I have a folder there called backup on their desktop and they click in it and it's got Carbonite in it plus something else, they know what they're using. The same thing with security, same thing with graphics programs. They may not remember which things they use to do, but if I've got a functional area, either a folder or just a few icons, it really helps them. Now, I walk into places that there are so many icons that they are stacked triple high on a Mac. And so there are, that's another problem. But I'm looking at functionally, functionally for myself, it's my tools organized by folders that I can get to all the programs I use. Okay. For my clients, there's a few things that I try to put on there because I'm helping them all the time. A remote control so that I can get to them quickly. So they always know it's at the top right. That's Pat's remote control program. And I try to put things like security, antivirus, backups on there because they may forget that they've got them. I'm sorry, but they do.
Mhm.
And so if I've got a folder on there or I've got some icons in there, I say, oh, that's right. That's my backup or that's my whatever. So, and then usually Word and Excel and things like that used to put themselves on the desktop. They don't. And my clients really get lost if they can't find them, even if they're down on the system tray. So I usually put a couple of those things on there for them. And I usually put a link to desktop and downloads on there, because that way, if it starts getting cluttered, I can tell them, okay, you can just drag those over to the desktop, a folder.
Which is a folder, yeah.
It's a pointer to a folder.
Yeah.
But then they just drag it over there and it goes into the correct folder.
Okay.
And so desktop, downloads, and there was one other one that I tend to put there. I've just forgotten what it was. At any rate, it doesn't matter. But that way they've got visual reminders of what they're using and what they if they do put the documents on the desktop, then I give them ways that they can go through and clean them out and move them to where they need to be.
Okay. And we'll go through some tools and other things like that as we go. But one of the things I was going to say, actually, when you said the desktop is full of icons and documents and stuff, that's your daughter, my wife.
I know, I understand. and there are things that can group them and organize them, and that's good. It's just that I walk in sometimes and I'll say, well, where's your icon for such? I don't know. And we'll go searching for it, and it's somewhere in there, but they can't find it on the desktop because it's 3 levels under.
Yeah. But that's what I was gonna say. That's her secret shame. When I need to work on it, she knows when I look at the desktop, I'm gonna look at Safari and see 75 tabs, and then I'm gonna look at the desktop and see 100 icons, and I don't know what the wallpaper is, and I'm gonna say something. She knows it, and we just it's
right,
okay.
But you're different personalities and different ways of doing things, and there's not a right or a wrong. There's just things we can do to help it be better.
Oh, there's a right way. But never mind.
Very PC of you.
Yes, thank you.
But he's a Mac user. He's not a PC.
Very PC of you. I actually saw a funny meme. Speaking of like organizing things to the desktop for people, it was like the caption was, "I did this for my dad because he kept losing the internet, quote unquote." And it was the desktop wallpaper was Michelangelo's creation of Adam, where God's pointing in the fingers, and where God's finger is pointing, and Adam's finger is pointing, like right between them was the icon for Internet Explorer or at the
Safari or whatever.
Yeah, it was on a PC. It was like and it said "Dad, Internet here," like on the wallpaper. So that's.
What's really confusing is if somebody accidentally takes a picture of their desktop icons and now it's the background. And they can't move things around, and they can't click on them. I've had about 5 people do that.
It's a great prank.
That is a great prank, though. Yeah. Take the screenshot, clear the desktop, and just leave. Yeah. April Fools. So there's different philosophies, like we mentioned, about desktop organization. So like, here's an example is like using it as an inbox. That you put your temporary files there, your downloads, docs that are an active project. You're going to clear those out regularly, like daily or weekly or something. Or it's a workspace, active project files, only active project files are there. And then once the project's complete, you save them off into a folder and put it on your backup drive or something. Or some people use it as a showcase. And I think Andrew was saying that. And I kind of like it that way too, where you have minimalist aesthetic, you have beautiful wallpapers. I love the Apple's active wallpaper screensaver thing that they do.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Some of those wallpapers are gorgeous, and I want to see them. And then with widgets as well, which I find the widgets to be functional as opposed to just aesthetic. But I'll get into some of that. But, sometimes people get icon overload. Like you mentioned, Pat, like you have so many icons on there. They're triple stacked and you just can't find anything. And then you can't find, and then you forget where your files are and you're mixing up things. And so, maybe you need some help organizing some of that. So we'll talk about some of that. You mentioned the idea of using having a folder labeled desktop or an alias to a folder labeled desktop as a place to kind of throw things.
Documents, not desktop.
Yeah, documents. Or documents or desktop or whatever you want to call it, but a place that is not the actual desktop.
That's what I was worried about. Yeah.
Yeah, but then a place where you can send files so that
clean it up quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could go through it later, or at least it's one place you can go look for things, and it's not cluttered in front of your face all the time. I know that, like, for some people that the clutter, they don't see the clutter, and that's like my wife, and she has time blindness, whereas after a while she doesn't see a thing, which is it's just a different way of being. And then there's people like me where if I see clutter, I cannot do anything. If my desk is cluttered, if my literal desk is cluttered, or my desktop on my computer, I can't do anything until I clean it up, and that's another kind of fault. So I'm not saying that's better. I'm saying they're just two different ways of being.
Well, and I have clients that they forget where things are. For instance, if they've got a scanner, I typically try to help them because they never know where the scan went. They scanned it and they can't find it. So I'll put a pointer to a folder that's desktop scans or scans.
Yeah. And
same thing with downloads. They never know where the downloads are. So I always try to put them a pointer to, hey, you can get downloads quickly here.
Right. Exactly. And on a Mac, you could do that in the dock. You could put folders in the dock to download.
Yeah, you can't do that on the PC.
Yeah. So there's just different ways of doing it. Now let's talk about some of the built-in desktop management tools. Like on Mac OS, Stacks is a feature where it auto groups files by type and date. So if I drop a bunch of photos there, it puts them all together in one stack. And then I click on the stack. Yeah, and then it just expands, and then I can see all the individual files. But it keeps things together, and that's kind of handy, I find. You can tag things in the Finder. You can put like labels and tags and create custom labels. And I use those with another tool that we're going to talk about, I've talked about before, called Hazel, where I can tag things, and that tells Hazel to do something to it. So, but you can even just tag things like to say, everything with this kind of project is going to be a blue tag, and everything that's like an active project is a red tag, but everything that's a finished project is a blue tag. And you could color code things. So that's kind of nice. And then there's like Apple's been pushing Stage Manager that for the last couple operating systems, which is a kind of a way of organizing your desktop in zones.
It's kind of a pop-up desktop on the multiples on the screen. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just being old, but I don't like it.
I've tried it a couple of times, and
I never got into it.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like it takes up too much space, and it's constantly trying to be smart and reorganizing itself. And when it does it, it reorganizes in such a way that I don't know where it went, or that's not how I would do it. And it just became, I'm managing Stage Manager instead of doing my work. Yeah. So, but for some people, they really like it. So, they have a different way of working. On Windows, you can apparently you can align things on a grid. Like you can set it up so that everything is aligned up on a grid on the desktop.
And you can also sort them by type or sort them by name. Okay. And that's the closest to having stacks that we come to on a Mac. I mean, on a PC, unless you go to third party, and then there are some other tools there.
Okay, and then you can do virtual desktops. We can have like multiple desktops views.
Yeah, one for your work stuff, one for your hobby, one for whatever, and so they you could have certain icons on certain ones. Yeah.
Okay, and then you can use File Explorer to quickly find things, find files and that sort of stuff.
This is like your Finder, yeah.
Right, sort of like Finder. Although I feel like when I've used File Explorer, it was a little faster. It was a little more like File Explorer. Sometimes seemed more like some of the third-party tools like Alfred that it did to the regular Finder on Mac. We'll talk about Alfred in a second too. So those are the sort of the built-in functions for managing your desktop on Windows and Mac. Now let's talk about some of the third-party things. So one of the things you can do is you can do some automation and file management. And what I like is I use certain tools to automatically move files, to put them in places, to organize them. I use like a software I've mentioned before, as was a previous pick of the week, called Hazel. And what I've done is I use it to create rules. So whenever I download a file, say a document that has this content in the document or has this name on the file, it will rename it and then move it into a particular folder, or give me a notification, that sort of thing. So I use it to rename files, to sort them, archive them. It's extremely powerful. You can run Apple scripts on things, and it kind of does. It would almost deserves its own show because it does so much. But Hazel is excellent. It's a bit of a power tool, but you can do some basic things. It uses a basic Boolean logic. If this, then this, then this sort of logic. And then Automator is another way you could thing. It has that's a built-in macOS tool for automation. And one of the things it has is folder actions. So when you put a file in a particular folder, it will take an action on it that you've programmed into the folder action. So that's really nice. There's a Windows software that's kind of like Hazel called Drop It that you can also set up rules for handling files in a particular way that's dropped into a folder. And of course, we'll have links to all these things in the show notes. But so Drop It is it's open. It's an open source project. Hazel is paid. It's a paid project. There's some free functions, but you need to pay to unlock the whole thing.
There are a couple of other things that a couple of clients have used is to make a folder instead of using a tag because they're on a PC, that they can do something like make a folder a certain color or change the icon for a folder for really, ones that they want to stand out. You don't want to do it for all of them. But, if you said, okay, but things got rearranged, where's my X folder? If it was a different color, it makes it a little easier.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. And then, there's enhancements for desktops. For example, on macOS, there's a program called UBar. And what it does is it basically replaces the dock. And it gives many more functions than the basic dock. For example, when you hover over, you can minimize folders into the UBar. And then when you hover over it, it will give you a preview of, say, if you've got image files in there, it'll pop up a preview of that. And it also, you can access certain system level functions. So it's almost works like the Windows taskbar. If you configure it that way, so you can configure it as a dock, you can configure it as a taskbar, that sort of thing. So it's a pretty powerful tool if you want to. And there's some other Finder replacement programs out there, like Pathfinder has been around forever. And that sort of thing. But UBar is a dock replacement on Windows. I gather, I have done some little research that Fences for Windows is very popular. It allows you to group and label your desktop icons in draggable containers, which is very interesting. So they almost look like desktop widgets, but you put your icons in these little containers, and it keeps them contained. And you can move the whole container around with the icons in them.
Right. Rather than doing a folder like I've been doing with my clients, it's a little bit bigger space that will show multiple things in there at one point. Okay.
It probably works better on a bigger monitor for sure.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And then, Pat, you had another link in there for desktop.
Okay, what happens with a lot of my clients, and maybe you don't have that problem on a Mac, but after a Windows update, very often the screen resolution will change because they've updated a graphics driver, and all of a sudden, all of the lovely arrangement that they had is gone, and there's no way to put it back. Well, Desktop OK is a free little program that you run it whenever you want to. When you say, oh, I like my desktop right now, you click on it and it saves it. If something happens, you can restore it, any number of them. You can go back quite a ways and restore old versions of the desktop, and it looks just like it did before they messed it up.
Yes. There's a software that I used. I haven't used it in a while because I didn't find as much use for it, but called Stay on the Mac. It was similar where you could set up your windows how you like it. Not so much the desktop stuff, but the windows. And if you change resolution and it messed up your windows, you could go back to say like restore.
That's kind of like this is, yeah. Only it's for the whole icons on the desktop, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That would be annoying and useful.
Oh yeah, for a lot of my people who have spent a lot of time getting things just arranged the way they are, and then got it messed up. Then I use this to say, oh, let's not do this again.
Oh. Well, I had that problem for a while with Mac OS with widgets. Every once in a while, not even with an update, just every once in a while, the widgets would disappear off my desktop. Andrew, did you have that?
Yeah,
happen?
I was just going to say that's definitely happened to me. And that's probably part of the reason why I just don't even use widgets anymore. I
got burned.
And the only one I really used, I know we're probably going to get into widgets some more now.
Let's get to do it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the only one I really used was the notes one, the sticky notes. I mean, for obvious reasons is just, but like, I feel like you can tell me what your guys' workflow is when it comes to like reminders and notes and stuff. You know, everything is just, I rely on that stuff on my phone.
Yeah.
Like my computer is, when it comes to like just quick little
it's data
reminders. Yeah, exactly. Obviously everything is synced. Like I'm in the whole Mac, space and ecosystem. But as far as like having it visible, like I'm the type of person, like I don't want things just like always looking at me. I don't want my reminders always looking at me. Like I don't want my
on the screen.
Like I do
irritating.
Yeah, exactly. I do utilize widgets on my phone. So whenever I open it, I see what's on my calendar for the day, and if there's any important reminders, they pop up. So that when it comes to my workspace on my computer, like I said, I just like it clean. I just like to focus on whatever I'm working on, and I don't like any other things to distract me.
I like the weather widget on my Mac. I like to put it on on my desktop in a corner. But I'm not much on widgets.
The classic problem is if the widgets are on the desktop and I've got windows open everywhere, how do I see my widgets? And so there is a key command on a trackpad where you put all your fingers, all 5 fingers, and you spread them out, and it just makes all your windows sort of disappear for a second, and you can see your desktop. So there's that.
Yeah.
I do like that. Also, if you click on your desktop, it does the same thing for a moment.
That's right.
Yeah, on a PC, there's a particular place on the taskbar at the very far right. You click and your desktop's showing to you, and then you click again, and all your windows come back. I mean, so that's same cool, thing. But Mac doesn't have that.
Yeah, Mac, if you clicked anywhere on the desktop,
if you could find it at that point, right?
Yeah, that's right. The other thing to do is like the whole like, I don't want my tasks in front of my face. I use Spaces, and that's another Mac feature where you can have virtual desktops, and I keep my project and task reminder software OmniFocus in a space to the right. So I just swipe to the left and it pops up, and then I swipe it back out of the way. So it's always there, a swipe away, but it's not in front of my face.
It turns around.
Yeah, right. Yeah. As far as widgets go, though, I actually have quite a number. I like to have, I have Find My widgets for 4 of my family members that have phones with phone plans. My 2 youngest don't have phone plans, but sometimes
that can come in really handy a lot of time.
Yes. Well, like sometimes I was like, Melanie's out. She went to the store or whatever. Is she on her way back yet? And I just click on it. I can look and see, she's still at the store, or she's down the street. Let's I'm gonna go out and get the dinner started or something. Well, when she gets back, we'll be ready to go, or whatever it is. So that's really nice. And sometimes I just like, especially when my kids are away, where are they? How are they doing? That sort of thing. So I do Find My. It's not creepy at all. Okay.
It's functional.
It's functional.
Absolutely.
I have a widget that shows me the battery level of my keyboard, my trackpad, and what's that 4th one? The 3rd one. I forget what that is. There's a 3rd one that's plugged in that I'm not sure what that is. But the keyboard and the trackpad, I want to know. I have a weather widget. I have my shopping list widget I use AnyList, and I can pop that up and add something to my shopping list really quick. I actually added the Word and Excel widgets. They've recently added those to Office, and I find I have them listing the most recently open files, like the 4 most recently open files, and those are the ones I go to most in Word and Excel. So like I can pull up the most recent Jimmy X Mysterious World script that we've been working on, like boom, I can get to it really quick. So I like that. I have my Tesla solar panel widget on there. I have solar panels from Tesla, and it tells me how much energy it's produced for me today. I just like that. I just like to see, yes, because to me, that's money.
I like seeing that too. Yeah.
Making money. And then I have a whole bunch of widgets from an app called Usage. And that's one of the other apps I want to talk about that are focused on system performance. And it tells me things like memory usage, percentages. I like to look at how much network data I've used today. How long has it been since I've rebooted my Mac? Because that can be a thing. If it goes too long, I'm not one of these people who I want to maximize my uptime. I'm like, I want my computer to run fine. And I just find that if I'm having weird issues, if I look at that and it's like, yeah, it's been like a couple of weeks since you rebooted, maybe you should reboot your Mac. That sort of thing. So it's got a bunch of like those usage things and system processors.
Those are kind of like activity monitor, but they're made into widgets.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And the developer, by the way, of Usage is really responsive. I had an issue recently where the widgets weren't showing up, and I emailed him. He said, "Oh yeah, we had that on iOS." He has the same widgets on iOS, which is really kind of cool that he can do that on an iPhone. And he's like, I'll fix it. And within a day he'd had a fix and it was up
nice.
and everything. So it was really great. And then I have a widget that does, shows me it's from Apple Home, HomeKit, shows me low batteries in various HomeKit accessories, whether it's sensors or, light switches or whatever. If there's a low battery, it shows up there and I can go change it before it's too late. Or whatever. So it keeps it top of mind in front of me. I do keep my calendar widget there, but I don't really look at it. To be honest, I don't really. If I need my calendar widget, I click on it in the menu bar and it pops down. I do keep it there. I don't use my phone as much for that sort of stuff because I hate typing on the keyboard on the phone. Like I will if I need to. But I'm old, so it's much easier for me to just type on a keyboard. If I prefer that.
So, Dom, you say you like to keep a clean desktop, but you got it full of widgets.
Yeah, well, the widgets aren't messy. The widgets are neat and a great.
I understand. It's just that it's not seeing the whole picture all the time. You've got widgets there.
Oh yes, it's not full of files. That's the
difference. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Messy files. That one file that's sitting there, I'm seeing it right now, is really bugging me. I need to get rid of it. I'm going to put that up. On an app called Unclutter. Actually, that's another one I should mention. Unclutter is an app that it drops when you click and drag a file to the top of the window. It drops down. This has been a pick of the week, and it has 3 panes that drop down. One is a clipboard history. The center part is a files where you can drop files, and that's actually a folder somewhere in your desktop that you've made
set up. Yeah.
Yep. And then notes, and you can just use to jot down little notes. If I'm on the phone with someone like, oh, your case numbers, I can jot it down really quickly there. And now it's gone. Now I don't see it. Although I do have a recurring reminder in my task list to clear out Unclutter every Friday, so that it doesn't get cluttered. Yeah, and then other things that you could, widgets and monitor type things. You can there's several different widget systems. This third-party system, like there's one called Ubersicht or HoloStats, I think it's also called. That puts widgets there. iStat menus, which is mainly in the menu bar, but I really like iStat menus. It tells you everything you ever want to know about anything that's going under the hood of your Mac. If you
it's a performance monitor type thing.
Yes.
Also,
yep.
I remember using iStat for a while. Yeah.
Yep. And then there's another one called Widget Wall, which is more. It's a limited number of preset widgets, so it kind of does the work for you. Of that, several of these are on SetApp, so you don't need to buy them separately if you have a SetApp subscription. Go ahead and drink. And then there are widget software on Windows as well. One called Rain Meter, which when I was using Windows in an office, I remember setting this up there, and it was pretty cool. It does widgets in desktop wallpaper, and then built into the Windows is something called Widget Board, which you can also use as well.
I just haven't ever used them much. I tend to have my phone with me all the time, so if I need to look up Find My or something like that, it's right there.
Yeah.
So but if I have to enter a lot of stuff, I can see where that would be a problem for you. But
yeah. So, and then I just want to, quickly mention, some workflows. Well, I kind of already mentioned like the workflow of like using Hazel, and stacks on my desktop. That's how I keep it clear. And then I didn't mention the unclutter, but that's another way I keep it clear. And then, actually, I suppose Yoink is another piece of software I use, which is when you're dragging something, a file, even like if you click and drag on a web address in your web browser, as soon as you start dragging, it pops up on the left side of the window, and you can drop the file on it, and it kind of holds it there for you until you need to move it somewhere else.
Almost like a mini clipboard.
Yeah, it's really handy that way. So it was
file holding space.
Yeah, it's exactly, and that also helps keep it from being cluttered. So anything else you guys wanted to say before we get to some final tips and takeaways? Anything else about desktops and organization?
No, it's just that there's a big difference between Mac and PC users and the way they use their desktops.
Yes, that is true. So, how do Linux users? That's
I set it up.
Yeah,
I usually use it like I do my Windows machine. I run several copies of Linux for play. I don't do them for production, but I've got one called a Free 10, which is like Windows 10. Looks like, feels like, looks like. Really nice. And then I've used Mint before and a couple of other things, but I tend to do it just like I do a Windows desktop.
Okay.
When I'm setting it up for somebody.
Thomas or Jack here. And Victor, there are my 3 Linux guys on the show.
Now they probably use it differently than I do because I'm looking at it, setting it up for clients that don't know how to use Linux.
I wonder how a Linux power user sets up their desktop.
Probably much differently.
Yeah. I'll have to ask them. All right. So just a few final tips before we get to our headlines and picks of the week. Set a weekly reminder to clean up your desktop. Now, whether to reorganize it, like Pat's saying, if you're a Windows user and you keep your icons there, some things may get moved or get things back into shape, move documents into the places
or obsolete.
Yeah.
I went through that today, just saying, oh no, wait, I'm not using that program anymore.
Right. Right. Just a little weekly reminder that, at 4:45 on a Friday, when you're
before you go to happy hour.
Yeah. You're winding down. You don't want to start anything new, like any new projects or stuff, do some like maintenance. That's actually a great time to do any kind of computer maintenance and updating and that sort of thing on a Friday. Automate repetitive tasks using tools like Hazel or Drop It. And most importantly, actually, I think is a really good tip. Set up your desktop, your computer in general, how it works for you, not how it works for me or Pat or Andrew or anyone else. It's really about what works for you. There is no wrong way. I mean, we kind of joke about it, but there is no wrong way to do it if it works for you. If having a cluttered desktop is the thing that makes you more productive, then go for it. That's minimalism is not everyone. Yeah,
it may bring out the explorer in you.
Yeah, but if you're getting things done, if you're paying for your shoes, but and the clutter is okay, then go for it. But if the clutter drives you batty, then try a different approach. So whatever works for you, that's what's important.
Yeah, don't overthink it. I think another good piece of advice, because I was the guy, and I fall into this trap all the time where, like, whether like I'll see a video pop up on my YouTube feed where it's like someone reviewing the best ways to use Hazel or whatever app, and then you watch it and you're like, oh, that looks so cool, that I could be more productive if I just it's the same thing with
you get dragged into it then.
Right. Yeah. You waste half a day trying to be more productive.
Exactly. I fell into this trap big time with like project management stuff. Like,
yep.
I was like, should I get into Notion? Should I all the, like,
you spend more time trying to track it than you do doing the work. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've just discovered, like, you know what? Like, I just have to like realize prioritize what's important. And then if there is a tool out there, look into it. But if not, don't try to fall into like this 45-minute YouTube video that's going to change your life. When really it probably will make it make it worse or less efficient.
It's okay to try things. And when you have
Of
some free
course.
time, try it. But then, if it's not working, don't force it. And
Don't
that's-
overinvest your time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good advice. And then, of course, as always, as every tech person will tell you, backup, backup, backup. Always keep good backups. Even a clean desktop needs to be backed up. So
There's more than to the computer than just the desktop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So let's move on. But before we get to our headlines, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Jackford K., Denise L., David J., Chris E., and Ryan Z. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So, Pat, you've shared a couple headlines you wanted to make sure we covered, and I definitely want to cover them. So the first one is from Google, and the headline is that new Google Chrome AI blocks tech support scams. What's going on with this? We talked last week about all the new AI stuff from Google at Google I/O. What's going on with this? I don't think this is something we covered last week.
Yeah, basically what they said that so many people, when they're doing searches and trying to look for help, they'll say, help with my HP printer, and they go looking and all of a sudden they get one of these things that pops up, or a phone number or whatever, and they call it and it's a scammer, and they lead them down the garden path. And I can't tell you how many of my clients I have to dig them out of problems that have been caused by this. So Google has said one of the things they can use AI for is to look at the things that are being searched for, and if they look like they're a scam, don't show it. So they can help reduce those types of problems. That doesn't take care of the ads on pages that are malicious that cause the some of the tech support scams, but they're at least the search type stuff.
Right.
Google is trying to work on that.
So it's called Gemini Nano, and it works inside of Chrome. And so without sending browsing content to Google, if a scam is suspected, it sends anonymized LLM outputs and site metadata to Google's safe browsing system for a second review. And if confirmed, Google Chrome issues a warning to the user before any damage can occur. So
that actually sounds like it might take care of some of those pop-ups that come up because of some ad on a page that nobody clicked on.
Right.
Yeah, so that's better than I thought. I thought it was only in the Google search that it was doing this. So this is great.
Yeah,
I have 4 or 5 a week that people call me in a panic, and I have to go pick up the machine and clean it off, because typically they leave malware on it, and they've started putting 3 or 4 versions of remote control programs on somebody's one, and that, one that's kind of obvious, so the person will go remove it, and there's more underneath.
Tricky.
They were evil.
So yeah, it is evil. They take advantage of the most vulnerable, and it's awful.
They do.
So the Google, this is coming out in the version of Chrome 137, which is like out this week or next week or something, like very soon. So update your Chrome, and we'll go to Google Chrome for Android later this year. That says, and then it operates locally, only activates in relevant scenarios, but you do have to turn on enhanced protection manually.
Right, and that's something in the settings, yes.
Yeah, privacy and security, enhanced protection. So you'll want to do that if this is something you want. Like as I said, go to your parents' computer or to your grandparents or anyone.
They won't notice that.
Right.
I wish it were a default.
Yeah, because the savvier folks will, we know not to fall for these scams, hopefully. But it's the not so savvy folks who don't know about enhanced security. So they rely on people like us to help them. So help the people in your life. That's why I always say. Every
time I go to somebody's house, one of the things I look for is, are there some bad extensions, and what are their security settings in the browser, and stop it from letting notifications come in and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the other headline we wanted to mention was Kim Commando shares, and this comes out actually semi-regularly, but it's good to be repeated. Apple has reissued warnings about your health and your phone, and this isn't just iPhones. This is any phone or any electronic device. if you are someone who has a pacemaker or automatic defibrillator, or you have someone in your life who has one of these things, make sure that they don't leave these devices laying on top of where the device is implanted under the skin. So, for example,
several inches, 6 or 8 inches away.
Yeah, like my dad used to, when my dad was with us, he had a pacemaker, and like he could fall asleep in his chair looking at his iPad, and it would kind of flop onto his chest. That's bad. Or his phone, or any other. Even like AirPods, Apple Watches, MacBooks. I don't think
don't put them don't put them in your pocket up above your chest.
Right, exactly, and that goes for Google Pixel, earbuds,
any of them.
Yeah, and any electronic device. It's not just Apple stuff. It's a 6-inch rule. Keep your gadgets at least 6 inches away from any medical implant. 8 inches to be extra safe. So that's a really good reminder. And again, if this doesn't apply to you, there may be probably someone in your life that it does. So spread the word. Post this on Facebook. For those folks.
That'll be a good use for it. Posting it on Facebook.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then finally, today, we've talked about this several times already, but today is the day, as we record, that the Nintendo Switch 2 is out. Pat, I doubt you've gotten one.
No, I don't use the Switch, but
Andrew?
I haven't gotten one yet. I'm not the type of guy that's like, oh, I need the console on release day.
Yeah.
I can, especially, being a dad and barely having time to play video games. I have plenty of
been there.
I have plenty of games that are still wrapped in plastic that I haven't opened yet that I've been meaning to get to. So I'm in no rush, but the two main consoles that I played now are my PS5 and my Switch. I love Nintendo games. I love the Zelda games especially, and I am excited about this release. It's for anyone that's been following this release. It's kind of been a weird sort of rollout, to say the least. With this whole pre-order situation and all the various distributors having like their own sort of like GameStop is doing it one way and Best Buy is doing it this way, and like it's sort of a mess.
There was a weird situation where some people were had gotten their Switches a few days ago or a week ago even.
That's right.
And it was blocked from being used. It's like sitting there, but they couldn't activate
you can't use it,
until today. Like, that's
dumb.
Cruel.
That really is. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine. Yeah, it's like Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
But
wait till February 1st.
Yeah. Okay, exactly.
Wait till Orthodox Christmas, or Epiphany.
I know, right?
But this kind of goes along with the whole thing about the terms of service where they said they could remotely brick the Switches if they find you've been tampering with it or whatever. It's kind of put a little bit of sour taste in my mouth about the Switch and Nintendo. They've always been kind of tight on this stuff, and
they have, and there's Nintendo again, they're infamous for sort of
that philosophy.
It's like if people think Mac is very proprietary, like Nintendo just is on a different level. I think they rest on the reputation of their they have the whole kid market with all the Mario games and whatnot, and the popularity of the Zelda games and all that, and the other consoles just haven't gone into the portability game as they have. So they can get away with doing weird stuff like that, and then also their graphics cards are never as great as whatever Microsoft or Sony rolls out. That's why a lot of people are looking forward to this release, because if finally in 2025 have 4K support and higher frame rate, this is stuff that Sony and Microsoft were doing a decade ago. So it's silly, but they get away with it, and video games are going to cost $80 now, but that's just going to be the norm. But it's unfortunate, but that's just how it is.
I should dispel a myth. Someone brought up on our StarQuest, our Discord community, like, oh, I've always wanted to get a Switch, but I never wanted to get another subscription. I don't want to have to pay monthly. And so there's a perception amongst at least some people that all the Switch games are, you have to pay a subscription after buying the Switch, but that's not true. There are subscription service, like you can subscribe to Nintendo Online, but there are games you can buy outright, and you can even like buy the physical chip thing, which I did with Zelda, when I got the Switch, or you can get the digital download, but you own it. Like you don't subscribe to it. So,
that's a total myth. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So that brings us now to our picks of the week. And Andrew, I assume you got a pick. And so why don't you tell us what your pick of the week is?
Yeah, my pick is an app called Descript, and it's a it's an app that I use every day. So it was an easy pick for me. I mean, a lot of people, whether you do it professionally or you're trying to get into it independently, as far as like making videos for social media, becoming an influencer on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. There's, I mean, I'm a really good video editor, at least I like to think I am. I mean, I do it professionally. I've been doing it my whole career, but when it comes to producing videos for social media, it's good to use tools like this that have like the text-based editing when I'm trying to make clips, uses AI tools for very simple things. I mean, the biggest thing is for, creating captions. It just does it so seamlessly. It's so easy to, it transcribes really well, transcribes videos very well. So it makes captions really easy to produce. The app, I mean, it has a Mac app and I imagine the PC app as well. I mean, works really well. And it has other like powerful tools as like, it can keep eye contact. So it uses AI to make it look like the person is looking at the camera if like you're reading a script or looking off camera. Not a feature that I use a whole lot, but it's there. It has built-in green screen effects and all that. So it just makes everything so easy. Like even, stuff that would take a really like a longer time if you're like using Premiere or DaVinci, if you're using like a professional editing software, you could find a way to do those things on a professional editing software, but it would take, like I said, it would take longer, and this just makes it so easy. And it gives you so many. You can use AI to draft. Like I use it to draft like give me 5 social posts or captions for this video, and then I kind of use that as a foundation for a caption, or something like that. So it's really powerful. It's really good if you're in that world, if you're making videos for social media, if you're clipping stuff, if you work in the podcast world, it's really good.
So I want to kind of describe a little bit more of what it is. Like, so it's a video editor with a lot of tools, and whether you're a professional who's been doing it for your whole career or you're brand new, I think the learning curve is a lot lower than with, say, like Premiere or Resolve or Logic, not Logic, the Apple one.
Final Cut.
Final Cut, thank you.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry is a lot lower, and one of the coolest things, the things that made them famous, was the editing via text. So what it does is it transcribes the what everyone says, and then you can go in and you can delete the words, and that will delete that part of the recording. You can edit things, you can move things around, but you can do it based on the words, which, let me tell you, when you're doing this without that, it just in a regular, like whether it's a Audition audio editor or video editor, that's a lot harder to find the right place with it. So that's really cool. But a lot of these other features, like they have rooms where you could record podcasts in the app remotely. People like what we're doing now using a third party thing called StreamYard, you could do it all in one place. So there's a lot of different things. And I like the idea that you can use it to kind of give you just like the descriptions, like it uses AI to say, looks at the video and says, how would I describe this in a social media post for Facebook or for you? I use ChatGPT for that, and I've built prompts to do that. But this does it for you. It's all in there.
Yeah, it's all in one, and it gives you like YouTube timestamps. I use that a lot, and actually a cool feature that I use all the time now that I've I'm producing a lot of podcasts. They have a tool called Studio Sound. So it's basically a filter. If you have like an audio file, like let's say you record a podcast. Instead of like if you're not hip to like Audition or like into audio editing, sequencing or mastering, EQing or whatever, you apply Studio Sound to your file, and it just does all the work for you. And then you can apply, you can apply like I don't like you can adjust like how much of it you want to apply if it sounds, because sometimes it can sound like there's too much noise cancellation or whatever. You can adjust the slide. It's just one slider. I usually do it like at 50%. And I just do that on top of like the editing I already do on Audition. But like, if you're like totally don't know anything about that, you can just take the trashiest, audio file, apply that filter, and it does wonders. It does a really good job. Wow. It's pretty powerful. I would highly recommend it.
What's the cost factor?
So there's a free version.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. There's a free version. It's
very basic.
Yeah, very basic, but it still lets you do quite a bit. But I
started.
It's a monthly plan. So I use it for work. So there's like, it's about $30 a month for like their business, I think.
So it's
tier.
So there's like a mid tier, which is $16 a month. They call it the hobbyist. That lets you edit 1080p video, gives you 10 transcription hours a month. Which is a lot. 10 hours of transcription. That's a lot of audio. Not for us at SQPN. We do a lot more than that. But for like a hobbyist, it would be plenty. And then 20 uses per month of the basic AI actions, that sort of stuff. But the creator level, the business level is $24 a month, and it gives you a lot more, including 4K, unlimited AI actions, et cetera, et cetera. So it gives you really access to a lot more. And that's competitive with things like Adobe Creative Suite and other tools. So,
what if you're not an editor, but you want to take a video and transcribe it and that type of thing? Can that be used for that?
Yeah, the first thing it does actually when you upload a video is transcribe it. So it does it automatically.
There's a lot of times I don't have time to go through and listen to a whole video, and I've been looking for tools to do that.
There's easier tools. For if you just want to do that, there's I use something called Mac Whisper. It's also, I think, on the Mac App Store is Whisper AI. But if you look for tools like that refer to the Whisper AI engine, I happen to think that the Whisper AI engine may be the greatest advance in AI stuff that we have now for consumer facing, because I could just throw any file at it and I have a complete accurate transcription within minutes of everything, of an hour and a half long recording. And I then use that in ChatGPT or other places to create stuff out of that. But it is fantastic for like the Whisper AI engine stuff. And again, I've Mac Whisper has been a pick of the week for me. It's fantastic. It's a little pricier, but there are cheaper ones out there that'll do similar things, but it is fantastic. But you could use this for that, but it might be a little overkill.
Okay. I had tried one of them, and it transcribed it in real time, and I still had to watch the whole video while it transcribed it. No, it's not what I want.
Yeah. I mean, if you have like a Silicon Mac, or something like a beefier computer, it does go faster for you're better off with a faster computer because it does use some CPU cycles. But this is good first pick there, Andrew. That's a good right out of the gate. Descript is a good choice. Pat, what's your pick this week?
I've got to get my screen back up, but basically it went to sleep. The one I was looking at is I'm always interested in security, and there's just a little website you can go and you say, okay, this particular file extension in Chrome or this browser extension. Is it safe? And you can give it the URL and it'll go out and evaluate it and say, yes, it's safe, or I don't think you want to do that. It's leaking a lot of privacy things, or it's bringing in malware or whatever. And so it's an additional tool that I think would be helpful for somebody who would like to do something like this. And it's free to go to the website and do that. There's another thing that I saw recently where Malwarebytes has an app on your phone that you can use Malwarebytes, so either Android or PC, or iOS. Yep. And you can link to or paste in an email, a website, whatever it is, and to say, does this look real? Is it scammy? That type of thing. And it will evaluate it too. So it's another AI use for that.
Oh, cool. Excellent. All right. But this one is called the Extension Checker. The Extensionpedia is, and it's a good database of browser extensions. Nice. Right. So my pick this week is, it's also an AI tool. That's funny.
We're going that way.
Yeah.
So this is on SetApp, so drink. And this is called Keep It Shot. And what it does, it's a very straightforward thing. What it does is it tries to intelligently rename screenshots. So I use a tool called CleanShot X to take screenshots when I need them. And it names it CleanShot, June 24th, June 4th, 2025 at 11:01 a.m. It's like, oh, that's very helpful. And then you have a million screenshots on your desktop, all named similar. Well, what this does is it uses AI to look at the contents of the screenshot and rename the file in such a way as it makes it easier to figure out what it is when you're looking for the files. I generally tend to use my screenshots immediately after taking them, so it's not really an issue for me. But I tried it out for a while, and it's pretty good. Sometimes I wonder what it was looking at when it made the name. It's AI these days.
It was a little blurry.
Yeah, I was like, well, I'm not sure that is what you think it is. But in general, especially if you're screenshotting stuff with text on it, it's really good with that. So you can check it out. And again, if you have SetApp, it's included, but there's also a version that you could pay for. I'm pretty sure, because Unlicensed is the one that's on SetApp. In any case, you could look for it. You could Google it if you want to find if you really want to pay for it separately. But cool. Keep it shot, which is a funny name. All right, so those are our picks, and that's it from us this time. We'd love to get your feedback on anything we talked about this time, or if you have things you want us to talk about in a future episode, we're happy to take suggestions as well. So you can do that by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology, or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com, or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC303. This is episode 302. I jumped the gun there. 303 is next week. 302. Anyway, just go to sqpn.com and find it. You'll find it there. I'll clean that up later. Be sure to write a review in Apple Podcasts or one of the podcast directories. Share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow this community and reach more listeners. And so until next time, Andrew Hermiz, thank you for joining us in sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks for having me.
And Pat Scott, thank you as well.
Yeah, it's been fun as always.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. Let's Science. Find the show wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/science.